and Palani Hills. It can claim a history of nearly 5,000 years of continuous human habitation in localities such as Marayu and Chinar. Succulent plants such as cactus and euphorbs are present in Chinar. It reminds one of deserts, but these dry forests are in no way poorer than tropical rainforests in their biological diversity. Out of 964 medicinal plants in Kerala, 335 are found in Chinar. Typical plant species of these dry forests, such as Drycostachys, Sacrostema, are wonder drugs for many common ailments. Cissus quadrangularis, also known as Asti Samhari in Ayurveda, is used in bone setting. Good visibility and abundance of wild animals such as spotted deer, samba and elephants make this a visitor's paradise. The river Chinar is one of the three east-flowing rivers of Kerala. It is a tributary of the Kaveri River. The banks of the Chinar River abound in the growth of evergreen trees such as Terminalia arjuna, Pongamia, and wild mangoes. This vegetation is known as gallery forest or riparian vegetation. Tamarind is an African tree. In Chinar, it has become naturalized. The tamarind trees on the banks of Chinar provide home to animals such as the Hanuman langur, grizzled giant squirrel, etc. The star tortoise can withstand a summer temperature of up to 45 degrees Celsius, and it is fully adapted to the extremes of Chinar. Tortoise is a delicacy to the leopards. When blood-smeared tortoise shells are seen in the forest area, the tribals living here know that the big cat has been on the prowl. Natural sandal forests of Marayu. The sale of sandalwood fetches nearly 3 crore of rupees annually to the forest department. Foreign trade links of Kerala can easily be traced back up to 3 millennia. Romans and Arabs arrived in this emerald coast in search of pepper and cardamom grown in the God forests. 1498, the arrival of Vasco da Gama opened a new era of imperial expansion. The beginning of a journey to conquer the world economy. Fortresses and enclaves were built to ensure military supremacy. Lighthouses that beckoned the foreign trading vessels to our coasts. The Dutch rulers were the first to discover the value of our innumerable varieties of plants. Hortus Malabaricus was written more than 3 centuries ago by Irti Achudan, a traditional medical practitioner under the directive of the Dutch governor Van Reed. The British era marked a change in attitude towards forests. Novel uses for the heartwoods of the God forests were found. Expansion of railway was a priority area of internal security, but its bearing on the forest was heavy. Extensive stretches of evergreen forests were axed for railway sleepers. Parambikulam was once famous for its natural teak forests. Huge teak trees of Parambikulam were hauled downhill to build sea-going vessels for the British Navy. A forest tramway was built exclusively to haul timber from Orukumbankuti to Chalakudi in 1907. Demand for teak was so heavy that teak forests were reserved for government use. In the early decades of the 20th century, major forestry activity was teak planting. Advancements in teak planting were marked by stump planting, and this technology was developed by Bourdillon. Bourdillon's plot at Ariyangavu is preserved to mark the importance of this breakthrough in tropical forestry. By 19th century, forests of high ranges gave way to plantations of subtropical crops such as coffee and tea. The heart of primeval forest tracts, the home of the Nilagiri Tars, was cut open to pave way for planters. Topsoil, millions of years of accumulated wealth, was washed away in no time. The Munnar-Alway Road, made by the British planters, has been blocked since the landslides at Karunduri Hills in 1937. More roads were cut open inside forests. The forest policies of post-independent India helped the government to strengthen the hold over forests. Large wood-based industries were started in the public sector. The role of forests was redefined from strategic raw material reserve of the colonial period to raw material reserve for wood-based industries. Selective felling of commercially valuable species was even recognized as a management strategy. It has become the government's responsibility to supply raw materials to large wood-based industries of the private sector at heavily subsidized rates. Conventional forest management strategies failed to meet the increasing demand for commercial timber. Fast-growing species such as eucalyptus and wattle were planted by clearing natural forests. When the National Commission for Agriculture approved of this as a management strategy in 1976, raising industrial plantations gained momentum. When Private Forest Vesting and Assignment Acts became effective, the forests of North Kerala had been in the hands of landlords. It was in these lands, once considered uncultivable, that the peasant migrants from central Travancore built their empire of rubber and other cash crops. Nearly half of Kerala's 44 rivers flow in three northernmost districts. The laterite hills of the Midlands form the major catchments of these rivers. During the decades of peasant immigration, most of these hills were denuded. When the lowland forests gave way to cash crops, many animals such as Malabar civets have vanished into oblivion. New built-up areas, bus stations, marketplaces, theme parks, and dream cities spelled doom to the last remnants of mangrove forest that had sustained traditional livelihood. Due to qualitative degradation, only 148 hectares out of 1,650 hectares area of mangroves in the state were of any conservation value in the 1990s. Even in the last decades of the century, the richest of the mangroves survived in the Erimala region. The final onslaught came in the form of modern shrimp farms, which replaced the last patches of mangrove vegetation that had survived in the traditional shrimp farms. The Forest Department is the single largest landholder in the state. In the post-independent era, the department had to part with thousands of hectares of forest lands for many non-forestry projects, such as construction of dams, roads, power transmission lines, rehabilitation of repatriates, research institutions, etc. Be it a curse or a blessing, many of our pilgrim centers are located inside forests. Ironically, it is at the expense of greenery that pilgrim amenities are developed. Idukki Arch Dam is an embodiment of the largest hydroelectric project in the state. The area was virgin forest before the dam was erected. An area of nearly 60 square kilometers was submerged to make way for the project. However, the after effects triggered by the dam construction by way of encroachments, degradation due to fire, were more severe than the damage inflicted by the submergence. Contiguous forest tracts were soon fragmented into tiny patches of forest perched over inaccessible slopes, rendering them useless as wildlife habitats. In monsoon months, the reservoir was filled with solid flow of mud and silt. Forests of the Silent Valley, the Sairundari Vanam, immortalized in the myths. Here the river Kunti flows unfettered. It has a story of a battle won against submergence and destruction. The valley that has millions of years of unhindered evolutionary history was to be submerged by a dam. The impending submergence of the valley raised protests from all quarters within a short span of time, and the Silent Valley became a hub of controversy at both the national and the international levels. In the end, in 1982, the Silent Valley was declared a national park. The Silent Valley supports perhaps the largest viable population of lion-tailed macaques, one of the world's most endangered primates. The resounding cries of cicadas provide tropical forests an incredible dimension of depth and mystery. The etymological origin of the word Silent Valley hints at a past devoid of cicadas in the valley. From the first expeditions conducted by the British from 1846 onwards till 2000, 42 new species of plants have been reported from these forests. Even the famous hollow tree of the Silent Valley, estimated to be 1,000 years old, was a species hitherto unknown to the botanical world. Named recently Kasain Kedarnathi, it's a species reported only from this valley. The grasslands of the Silent Valley, which were to be submerged had the dam become a reality, are extraordinarily rich in plant diversity. The Malabar daffodil, Ipsia malabarica, is queen of orchids. It is known to occur only in Kerala. It was once thought to be extinct, and this orchid was recently rediscovered on the banks of the river Kunti, where it had been first reported 125 years ago. The web of life, the flow of energy and matter, which is cyclical and incessant, the flow from plant to herbivore and from prey to predator. Tigers occupy the pinnacle of the trophic pyramid. So while sorting out conservation programs, protection of the top carnivore is taken as a symbol of extending it to all other groups of life. Thus, conservation projects such as Project Tiger takes care of other forms of life too. Elephant herds have their own permanent tracks in the forest. They move from shoulders to grasslands and across hilly tracts in search of pasture to fill their huge bellies. Encroachments, monoculture plantations, developmental activities. When even the farthest corner of the forest fills with the smell of man, when forest becomes fragmented and insularized, when the wild denizens of the forest are forced to venture out across shrinking boundaries. In Chinar, the Forest Department has acquired Churulipatti settlement to give it back to the inheritors of the woods as a gesture of goodwill. The Project Elephant envisages the establishment of several such elephant corridors to connect their natural habitats that had been cut away by landscapes modified by man. The lantana was introduced as a H plant, but now it has infested our forests and plantations. Exotic weeds in our forests affect the natural course of forest succession, and they topple the normal course of the ecological processes in forests. No helping hands are stretching out to save these forests and animals that are burnt alive in the infernos of greed created by man. Sacred groves stand as living symbols of primitive ecological wisdom of our ancestors. The patches of greenery that have survived destruction have been sheltered by traditional values and beliefs.